Good afternoon, and welcome to the next edition of Bible Classics, where we make the Bible come alive. Today we're going to talk about some lessons from First Kings.
I want to be a leader in my Bible group. You aren't even a good follower, so how are you going to lead?
Well, today we need to talk about what being a good leader is. Is that okay with you guys?
Yeah, I guess so. What do you have in mind?
Oh, let's talk about leadership lessons in First Kings. You know, in our version of the Bible, we've divided into First and Second Kings, but in the Jewish Bible, they're all one book. So let's just look at a few lessons today. Anybody remember who King David's son's name was?
I think Solomon.
That's pretty close. It was Solomon, and King David had many children. Solomon was just one of them. But I want to begin our story today talking about how Solomon became king of all of Israel, because you know they were two separate nations. David had a son that was older than Solomon. His name was Adonijah. And Adonijah was very handsome, very charismatic. He was very strong, but he had some personality flaws.
What's personality flaws?
Well,
Something you have very little of.
now that's not nice, and that's something that Adonijah was known. He was always speaking before he thought. He thought he was supposed to be king, and he crowned himself. He even had a coronation ball. A personality flaw is built-in things in your personality that just are not always too nice. Sometimes they're just not positive.
Where was the king when he did all of this? I remember from Sunday school, King David was dying.
Oh, that's right. And his son had to be stopped, and the lesson here are several. First of all, King David never ever publicly named his successor. And I think we should always tell people who the next in line is. Second, you should never assume a position is yours like Adonijah did. And third, a person should always examine themselves to see if the job is right for them. We're going to break now for 5 or 10 minutes and have a group discussion on these topics. We hope you'll stay with us. Well, we're back again. Thanks for staying with us.
Let's do another lesson.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about this guy who got the job as king, Solomon.
Oh, I know he was wise and he was rich and had a lot of wives. But what was so important about him?
Well, you know, Solomon was also a brilliant administrator. He led many good public policies for the people, and he allowed the people in his kingdom to get rich along with him. He was known for solving their problems and being just and fair, and he ended up leading the nation for many years.
Why did he have so many wives and girlfriends? Oh, I know this from Sunday school. He was making alliances with other nations. Why did he have to do this so much?
Well, that's going to bring us to another leadership topic. Sometimes trusting God more than we trust ourselves will make us not have to make these alliances. They're not always bad if you're trying to be inclusive, but if you're trusting God, you don't need to make these alliances, and Solomon made a lot of alliances through taking on wives and girlfriends.
I think I know why it was negative. Because these entire women made him follow their gods and customs.
Oh, you're right. Sometimes outside influences can cause you problems. Why do you think he followed these women if he was so wise?
Oh, I know this. Sometimes things start off small and end up being bigger than you thought. Yeah, and they can destroy you.
Well, as we break for another 5 to 10 minute group discussion, we hope you'll return back with us. Okay, let's do a couple of lessons about bad leadership people. There was a king named Ahab, and he had a wife. Anybody know what his wife's name was?
Mrs. Ahab?
Well, yeah, that's true, but she had a first name, and her name was Jezebel. Well, Ahab was a bad king, but God used him to strengthen the nation of Israel. And that's a lesson that we need to look at here, that God can use anybody he wants to when he wants to. Ahab and Jezebel didn't change their ways, but God used them for a season.
Where do I know the name Jezebel from?
Well, you might know her from the Bible days, that she was wicked and tried to kill Elijah, but failed. And I have a question. Should we always look to group leaders and to our leaders in the church for things? Sometimes people don't have an idea of what they're doing, and I don't think Ahab knew what he was doing some of the times when God used him for good and when he was doing bad. As we break for our group lesson now, we're going to talk about that for a little while, and then we're going to come back with some other lessons from another book. Okay?